with the paper. Let's start with the uh, data response maybe. Um, in fact, let's do the essay question because that will be quicker, honestly. So let's start with the first one. It has been reported that the world demand for chocolate is increasing at a time when the supply of cocoa beans, the raw ingredient required to produce chocolate, is not as large as expected. With the help of diagram, the likely effects of these changes on the world market. So, guys, we can draw the diagram, and then I can tell you the outline in 1 minute. Let's choose another color. So, if this is my market for cocoa, the world market for cocoa, 3 things are happening. Number one is this, that the supply, so this is my demand and supply, right? And the price is P naught, the quantity is Q naught, right? Now, guys, in this case, what they're saying is this, that the demand is increasing at the time when the supply of cocoa beans is sort of going. So if, with the diagram, you need to show the likely effect. So if the demand is increasing, and you can talk about the demand can increase because of many reasons, taste, preferences that can change, can make the demand to go up for the good. When the demand increases, at the same time, the supply of cocoa beans, which is a raw ingredient, is going down. So you explain that the supply curve will be shifting backward. And that can mean basically the equilibrium to be ultimately, like from point A, the demand is increasing and supply is falling. So quantity, sort of ultimate quantity, is depending on 2 things. Number one, so this is the B. So ultimate quantity will depend on basically whether the demand is greater than supply. If demand is greater than supply, the quantity will go up. But if supply is, the shift of demand, the change in demand is greater than change in supply, quantity will go up. But if the change in demand, change in, let me just write it properly. So I'm saying if change in demand is greater than change in supply, then your quantity will go up. But if the change in demand is less than change in supply, then the quantity will fall, right? And the price, however, will go up irrespective, because both the factors will make the price of the good to go up. So with the help of diagram, the likely effects of these changes on the world market for chocolate products. So you talk about this, that why would demand curve can shift to the right? Why would supply curve shift backward? Like cost of production go up, and in this case, the cost of production going up because the raw ingredient is short, has a shortage. So both the factors will make the supply curve shift backward and demand curve shift to the right. The quantity will go up or down depending on the magnitude of shift of demand and supply. But the price will definitely go up. Once we talk about the price changes, they said world market. So both quantity and price, both, Sumit. Make sense? And so they are asking us about the world market for cocoa, world market for chocolate. Make sense? Are you all with me? Does that make sense? So the factors that is causing it to do is, they've given the factor also. The shortage in one of the key inputs is the factor number 1, and factor number 2 is basically your your demand is increasing. No, beta, not aggregate demand. You can't put aggregate demand analysis here. This is only for market for chocolate. This is micro. This is easy, actually. The only thing they want you to talk about is that what will happen to quantity and what will happen to price. Make sense? So what will you can talk about this, that like the way I'll start with the question is this, that while the demand curve in the question, they're saying basically demand is going up, AD analysis comes in when it's about, yes, AD analysis comes in when there is a whole economy involved here. This is just the market for chocolate. So in this case, you can talk about this, that the demand is increasing for chocolate, which could happen because of many reasons like taste, etc. But at the same time, supply is falling as the key input is becoming limited in supply, which would mean the falling effect will happen. And you draw the diagram. In this diagram, if the demand is, and then you talk about basically here you assume the demand change is equal to supply change. However, if the demand change is greater than supply change, if demand is increasing more than supply, you will see the quantity bought to go up. At the same time, if the change in demand is less than change in supply, your quantity will fall. Yeah, you can, I mean, the question is asking about, but I think factors, if you ask me about the factors, whether the factors should be mentioned here or not, the factors per se is not really a discussion you may want to sort of give here. Does that make sense? Yeah, guys, any questions? Okay, so so you are looking at like market demand supply curve to be drawn here. Talk about the demand curve shifting to the right, supply curve shifting to the left. Price definitely goes up, and the quantity depends on the relative sort of changes in the demand supply factors. Make sense? Are we good? Any questions, guys? Give me 1 minute, guys. Sorry, I just have a battery issue. But very high consumption of chocolate can lead to health problems such as obesity and diabetes, especially amongst young children, right? Sorry, guys. So very high consumption of chocolate can lead to health problems such as obesity and diabetes, especially among young children. Discuss what is the likely to be the most effective policy to reduce these problems. So in this question, guys, we're looking at again, this is a case of what kind of a good is this? It could be considered as a demerit good, right? So you can talk about the very high consumption of chocolate is leading to health problems, which means there is what we call a negative externality of this good. And primarily because people are unaware of the problem, which is there is an information failure, right? Which means this is a classic case of a chocolate as a demerit good. Right, so you talk about that. What is likely to be the most effective policy to reduce these problems? So you can talk about many policies that can be adopted. One policy, of course, somebody is mentioning here is through tax. So we can draw a diagram about an indirect tax that you could put on this good. If this is my demand and supply, you can put an indirect tax. Supply curve will shift backward. The price will go up, and the quantity will go down. However, in this case, guys, when you put an indirect tax, there are, of course, issues that can happen. Yes, exactly, Taha. You have to do it from there only. So, guys, talk about that when you look at indirect taxes, because they're saying discuss what is likely to be most effective policy. So when you are putting increases sort of sales tax on this, the problem is basically it all depends on whether the quantity will fall or not, depends on elasticity of demand. Also, these indirect taxes are regressive. And if you don't know the amount of externality, you can under or overtax. So you can talk about problems of indirect taxes as a way to solve the problem. However, it can earn government revenue, and basically you can put a large tax if you want to reduce a large quantity, and it works through the market forces of demand supply. So you can write that evaluation within this diagram, right? So then we talk about what other policy, and because it's a good which is a demerit good, there is also information failure, right? So you can talk about another way to go about this is to reduce guys, something happened to my internet. I'm so sorry. The weather is like pretty unsupportive as well. Let me quickly share my screen. Can you guys hear me properly? So sorry, guys. Just 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. So yeah, we were talking about the factors. So guys, there is guys. So the other point that I want to talk about is the information failure, which is something you need to talk about. Can you guys see this? What's my birth date? 15th May, right when your economics paper might be happening. That's when my birth date happened. Why are you asking this, Jan? Damn. Why? What happened? Predestined for what? Sorry, we are recording this class, so I can't really talk about destiny and all that. Okay, guys. So B part, actually, let's just quickly talk about this. That one further policy that you can talk about is that, like information failure that happens, and therefore giving information can be one of the ways to solve the problem. Then we need to come up with a conclusion also. And so first you talk about one policy like indirect taxes, and then one more policy, but do talk about information failure also as a pros and cons, because whether the information failure will work or not depends on basically how effective that information is being imparted. If the message is strong, you may see good results to happen. Now, evaluation is also required. So we need to compare, because it's a demerit good. Probably one could argue this, that what is better is to use, for example, a policy like information dissemination rather than taxes, because taxes have its own set of issues, such as being regressive, being inflationary, and so on. Chocolate could be, if it's causing obesity and diabetes, there could be a problem of what you can say being a habit forming good. So demand is inelastic, so quantity may not fall by that much. Amar, yes, you have a question. Answer formation. What do you mean answer formation, Amar? We've talked about it. We talk about demerit good. Talk about why is it a demerit good. Talk about indirect taxes, how they work. Talk about what are the pros and cons of indirect taxes, and talk about any other policy, and then conclude your answer by giving pros and cons of both the policies. Okay, now number 3, guys. And there's one more problem that I'm facing right now, just to let you guys know that my laptop is dying, and okay, my laptop is dying, and yeah, my charger is not with me. So just in case, if this laptop dies, the class will end at that note. So yeah, so I've asked my driver to get the laptop from the office, but by the time it's going to come, we can do that. Sumit, we can schedule another class on this paper. Yes, we can. If you feel that there's too much of stop and starts that are taking place, yes, let's have a class tomorrow. How about this? Let's just finish this. Let's have a class tomorrow. Okay? Because there's so many of issues happening. Time, I'm going to tell you the time. What time works for you guys? Tomorrow, what is a good time to start a class? 11. How about we keep 9 to 10 at night? No, I don't operate at night. Okay, let's see how rain happens, and then tomorrow I'll let you know the time. Okay. Thank you, guys. So sorry, guys. See you tomorrow then. Bye bye.